A Turkey for Thanksgiving by Eve Bunting. It was Thanksgiving morning. Miss Moose helped Mrs. Moose set the Thanksgiving table. Sheep will sit here. He likes a chair that's straight up and down, Mr. Moose said. Rabbit here. Porcupine will sit here. Mr. and Mrs. Goat here. He smiled to his wife. Isn't it nice to have friends to share Thanksgiving? Mrs. Moose set 2 paper pilgrims, one at each end of the table. She placed the paper turkey with its great fan of a tail between the candles, and she stood back. They look good, my dear, Mr. Moose said. Mrs. Moose sighed. Yes, but I wish we had a real turkey. Everyone's always had a real turkey for Thanksgiving, everyone but us. Mrs. Moose nuzzled Mr. Moose's head. Well, that won't do. I will go this minute and find you a turkey for Thanksgiving. Mr. Moose put on his cap and went out. Mist wandered through the bare trees. This made his nose water. Rabbit poked his head from his rabbit hole. Mr. Moose, isn't it dinner time? Not quite yet. Mrs. Moose wants a turkey. I'm to find one. Rabbit joined him in 3 quick hops. I'll come with you. Moose's warm breath hung white in front of him. Snow crunched under his hooves and made little holes that Rabbit jumped over. I see the goats, Rabbit said. Mr. Goat raised his head and spat out a tin can that he was chewing on. Is it time for dinner? He called. Not until I find a turkey, said Mr. Moose. We saw one down by the river, Mrs. Goat told him, and Mr. Goat added, it was a fat one. The goats hopped down from their perch. We'll show you. Sheep was further up the hillside, looking round as a fur ball in his winter coat. Is it dinner time? He bellowed. First I have to find a turkey, Mr. Moose bellowed back. There's a turkey nest on the riverbank, Sheep called. Wait for me. The earth smelled of ice and moss as they crunched along. Above them a crow hung, black as a puff of wood smoke. Porcupine was hiding in the underbrush. It's you, he said, and he put his quills down. We're off to get a turkey for Mrs. Moose, Mr. Moose explained. Do you want to come? I'll show. I'm slow, said Porcupine. Pick me up on your way back. Who'd want to pick you up? Sheep asked, and he laughed at his joke. I'll wait, Porcupine said to Mr. Moose. They saw Turkey's nest right away, and Turkey himself peering over the roof, over the top of it. Turkey, Turkey, Mr. Moose called in his sweetest voice. Ah! Turkey blundered from his nest and ran. Mr. Moose lumbered after him. Turkey, don't run. We just want you for Thanksgiving dinner. Turkey ran faster. Mr. Moose saw the red and blue sheen of Turkey's neck. Turkey's tail brushed crumbs of snow behind him as he tried to fly. Too fat, said Mr. Goat. Turkey's legs bent in the middle as he fell. Mr. Moose put a booted hoof on his head and smiled his great big toothy smile. I hope you don't have other plans for Thanksgiving, Turkey. He helped Turkey up. My wife won't mind that you're too fat, he said. Let's go. It's getting close to dinner time. They marched Turkey in front. I'm sorry about this, for I can see that you don't want to come, said Mr. Moose. But I must insist. A promise is a promise. There was a wreath of dried fruit on the Moose's door. Inside the house was filled with Thanksgiving smells. Mr. Moose hid Turkey behind him. Look who I brought, Mrs. Moose, he said. The sheep, the goats, the rabbits, and Porcupine. And ta-da! He pushed Turkey around in front of him. For you, a turkey for Thanksgiving. Mrs. Moose dropped her hooves. I'm so happy to have you, Turkey. Thank you, Mr. Moose. Now everything's perfect. Shall we sit? Sheep asked, heading for the straight up and down chair. Let's, Mrs. Moose said. Rabbit here. Porcupine here, Mr. and Mrs. Goat here, and look, I brought a chair up from the other room in hopes of Turkey. The chair? Turkey stammered. Right next to me, Mrs. Moose said. Light the candles, Mr. Moose. There were bulbs, acorns, and alfalfa sprouts, broads in summer. There was willow bark and curled grasses and wild parsley. There were pressed leaves, thin and pale as new ice on a pond. I hope you find something here to your liking, Mr. Turkey, said Mrs. Moose. Wasn't sure of your taste. You're so kind to worry about my taste, Turkey said. I thought you would be worrying about how I'd taste. Heavens, no, Mr. Moose smiled with his big tooth smile, and he filled everyone's cup with cold spring water. It's so nice to have friends around the table at Thanksgiving. Turkey Waddles wobbled. It's even nicer to be at your table and not on it, he said. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving, Turkey. A Turkey for Thanksgiving by Eve Bunting.